Good morning. So we had our first night's sleep and it was not the best sleep, but we were just so grateful for our little Airbnb, and it's so homey and cozy and we just absolutely love it. And so this whole morning we've been seeing the clouds are coming, the rain is coming, and just as we like walk out of the garden to get to the bus to go and buy some food, it starts to rain. It's not pouring yet, so we hope that we like walk it out and get to the bus before it starts coming down. It's so pretty. It's like lovely with the chickens around us, and they're all free range, and lovely warm weather. Yeah, so all is well.
So when we arrived in Panama, we didn't have our own transport. We were catching buses and we were catching taxis, and with two small kids in the heat walking to bus stops and trying to catch taxis sort of later on in the evening and having to walk and stuff like that was to say the least very challenging. And at a certain stage we were worried about our kids getting heat stroke, being on the side of the road, being on the side of the highway. Actually in Panama, the birds, the public transport is actually very good, and the buses are very cheap. Taxis are a little bit more expensive. So eventually we were like, let's just try and buy ourselves a car. We were walking up and down to the bus stop, and little did we know that we were walking past our future car. And one day we decided, hey, let's just find out about this car that we've seen on the side of the road, maybe 50 meters away from where we've been living. It had a Savende sign on it, so we phoned the number and we found out that the car was 1996, an old vintage Hyundai 4x4. It only had 216,000 kilometers on the clock, which for a diesel is not too bad. The bodywork is very good. There's not a spot of rust on it, and for a car that old on the coast, that was something to look at. And we took it for a test drive. Then we were not sure because we were a little bit worried that it was an old car. So we got a friend of ours from South Africa to come and have a look at the engine and to have a look at the car and give us some advice, because, well, I'm not a mechanic, and what I know about cars is very limited. So Andries, thank you very much for helping us. Yeah, Andries came out with his wife, and they looked at the car and at the engine, and they said that it's a great bargain. The car is in excellent shape. The engine looks fine, and everything is good to go. So we put in an offer and we ended up buying the car that we'd been walking past day after day. We were very, very happy to have done that, and later on we will explain to you how to get the paperwork done.
Where's that car?
It's still there by Jafat.
Why?
We got the key, the spare key.
Okay.
The reason being is that he asked very nicely if he could go and pick up his wife from work, and so that they can go and pick up their car, which is in at the mechanics. Otherwise
Today?
So he'll bring it around 7 or 8 tonight.
Oh man.
So disappointing.
I waited forever for you.
I'm sorry.
Okay. At least you can help him.
At least we can help him. And
Sure.
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. Finally. Finally. It's a June bag. We still need to name her. Don't know what it's gonna be. Look at our sweet little car. Yay!
So once we bought the car and we paid the money for the car, we had to get our paperwork done. So I'm just gonna walk through the steps that we had to do to get our paperwork and to get legal, so that there's no issue if we get pulled over by the cops or anything like that, and obviously to get the vehicle in our name. So the guy that we bought the car from took us to Panama City, to the licensing department. Whoever's with you will know where to go, and I had to wait outside the office while he went inside and got the paperwork done. And then once he'd got most of the paperwork done, then I was allowed to go into the offices with him to sign and to pay. I can't remember exactly how much it cost me there. It was $30 or $40. It was not excessive. And then once we'd done that paperwork and signed it off, we had to go to another office to get the actual form printed out, and I think we had to pay a small fee there as well. So it took probably about, because we were waiting in line, it probably took about, all in all, for both of those processes, about 45 minutes to an hour. But it was really just waiting, signing a few things, and that was that. So once we were issued the form, which I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but that's more or less what it looks like. This is now the form that legally says that we own the vehicle. We had to take this form to get insurance. It's very important that you get insurance for your vehicle. If you don't have insurance, they can impound your car, I believe. So that is the second most important thing to do once you've got your paperwork done. So one thing to remember if you're going to go and do this process, you have to wear long pants and closed shoes if you're going to go into the offices, the licensing department offices in Panama City. I'm not sure if it's the same in David, but in Panama City we had to go in with long pants. So I jumped into the car to go with this guy, and I had short pants on, and he made me come back into the house and change my pants because he says they won't let you in. So for Panama City that was quite an adjustment, wearing jeans in that heat, but anyway, that all worked out fine. So then once you've got your paperwork, you have to get your insurance done, as I mentioned. So the company that we went to was the one, it's called Seguros Fedpa SA. I presume that's the way you pronounce it. That's what it looks like. So we went to the one in Panama City. I did see that there were offices here in Coronado as well. We're in Gorgona, which is just close by to Coronado. So I took the paperwork into these people, and basically it cost me $107 to get the paperwork done. So when you go for this process, the very first process, or both processes, you need to have your passport, and I would suggest 1 or 2 copies of your passport, because they're going to need a copy of your passport at the first place, and they're going to need a copy of your passport when you're applying for your insurance. So that process was probably done within 2 hours, maybe 1.5 to 2 hours, depending on how busy it is that day. It was fairly painless. I really just had to sign a few things off and pay a few bucks here and there. So all in all, I think it cost me $107 plus around about $60 for the rest of it. So that's how that process worked. One important thing to take into consideration, and that is that the paperwork needs to be in your car when you are traveling. So the form that shows that you own the car, the one that looks like this, they suggest that you take a photocopy of it and keep it in your car at all times, and to keep the original in your home. If you keep the original in your car and somebody steals your car, then they can put it into their name, supposedly. I'm not sure if that's true or if that can work, but I've heard it from a few sources. So take a photocopy, put it in your car, and it's also extremely important to have your insurance papers in your car at all times with this document.
Is it working?
It's working.
See our Panamanian music system. This volume.
How did you do that? Okay, let me adjust it here. Go up. Okay. Other papers that you need in your car are a copy of your passport if you don't have your passport with you. A lot of South Africans that come here are applying for immigration, and their passports, or like in our case, are with our attorney. So have a copy of your passport with your papers. It's also good to know that you can drive for 90 days without having an international driver's license.
So babe,
Yes.
here we have a deal on live video
Okay, let's hear it.
that from now on we're going to keep our car clean.
You'll have to speak to Bella about that. And
No.
Jay.
Basil has this thing where he's like, "You're so Virgo." Not at all. Not at all. Like, I don't even know with what he's Virgo.
That's so not true, baby. That's so not true.
Maybe like with
Okay, let's go
maybe
for the
with his
challenge. I'm gonna
profession, maybe
video.
with music, but like that's like the only thing that he's Virgo with. Your car in Clarence was not clean, baby.
And yours?
No, mine was way better.
The Keenan Pixies.